Good friend Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio joining us here, as usual, Wednesday, bottom of the second hour. And we, come up with all these topics to talk about. I'm texting with Bill earlier today about I thought we might talk about Pulmonary and his retirement. And then this is one of the great things about doing a sports radio show in the middle of the day. There might be a big news bomb that gets dropped into the middle of the show, and there you go. There's the rest of your show for you. So, Bill, Coach K has announced he will retire at the end of the upcoming college basketball season. And to be quite honest, this is like the only way that I'd be talking college basketball on June the 2nd with a baseball regional coming up. But there you go. I mean, this is a blue blood program that Coach K turned into blue blood himself. There was not before he got there. And I wonder what your reactions are when you heard this news recently.
First thought was the greatest basketball game ever played, at least college basketball game, would be the Final Four or the, I guess, Elite Eight Duke game in the Spectrum in Philadelphia with Kentucky, circa 92. I remember where I was on my bachelor party in Destin, and we never ended up going out because of that game. We sat there and watched the game first, and it went forever, as you know. Most incredible basketball game I've ever seen. There's not even a number two. So that's the first thing. I'm not a big Duke, North Carolina. I know they're enemies, but I'm not big fans of theirs in general. But one of the iconic careers ever, obviously.
Well, and a guy that, I mean, he comes from the Bobby Knight school. Obviously he's a shorter dude than Bobby Knight by far. Might have had some different coaching strategies. I don't think he could ever be quite as intimidating as Bobby Knight. But here's a case, Bill, of the student becoming more successful than the mentor, which is kind of rare. You consider how successful Bobby Knight was as a head coach, and Coach K's got him by 2 national titles and a bunch more wins, and he didn't get fired. He chooses his own way out. Do you draw the line between name, image, and likeness, the transfer rule the NCAA has passed, and this retirement with Coach K, or is this just an idea of a guy that's probably just ready to move on to the next phase in life?
Probably expedited it. I was just thinking that as you were talking. Probably sped this up. He complained a lot during this last basketball season, questioning why they played, which made me sick. They should have been playing. I was never part of the crowd that questioned whether or not we should be playing sports or not. And he did a lot of that. And frankly, I totally disagree with him. But I do think all of this, name, image, just the metamorphosis we're going to be going through here probably pushed him on out, but I'm thinking.
So I like to ask you like comparisons between something that's going on in another sport in college football. And I'd asked you this morning about the Pulmonary retirement, which, when you look at things maybe isn't so successful, but there's an instance of a guy who he didn't replace the legend, he replaced the dude who replaced the legend. In Skip Bertman. You could probably never win 5 national titles in college baseball in 10 years, so it's unfair to try to live up to that standard. But you always feel like Maneri, who won 1 College World Series and got to a handful of College World Series with LSU, still did not quite measure up to the stick that the LSU fans wanted him to measure up to, and it feels unfair. And I wondered, like, if there was a comparison you could draw to college football. I want to do the same thing with Coach K, a guy that obviously did satisfy his fan base, but I'm not sure which direction to go with that yet.
Yeah, you brought up Mac Brown earlier. I'll give you credit for that. That's a good comparison. I don't think Mac Brown is equal to Pulmonary. I mean, Pulmonary is better at what he did than Mac Brown is and was, but they're both good. I mean, they're both excellent. And got to remember, LSU baseball, guys, is the number 1 pressure cooker baseball job. There's not even a number 2 that compares with that. And as you know, LSU, the state of Louisiana, but LSU has always got some kind of mess on the teams, whether it's football program, basketball program. There's always some kind of turbulence there. Been going on forever and ever. You go back to Paul Dietzel. And it's a very incredibly rewarding job, but it's a big-time pain in the neck. And the other thing about Coach Maneri is he was having some horrible upper back neck problems. He was having migraines. I remember watching the Tennessee series, and I've never seen a look on a coach's face, a scowl, and I couldn't tell. Is he just unhappy, or is the team obviously the team, by their standards, not very good this year? And he's in a lot of pain, man. Yeah, a lot of physical pain, I'm told, and so a lot of reasons there.
Well, so LSU baseball was not blue blood before Skip Bertman got there. He turned it into what it became, and Mainieri kind of kept it close to that level for a long, long time. We talk about the idea of blue bloods, Bill, and, a blue blood is only a blue blood while it's still at that level for a long time. Nebraska used to be that in football. They're not anymore. Same with Tennessee. Same with Texas. There's probably some other schools that you could say the same thing about. Nobody would have ever thought that Nebraska football would be where they are now in the mid-'90s when Tom Osborne was taking them to the Natties. So with Duke, Coach K turned them into the blue blood that they are. This is no guarantee that they just stay at that level just because they're Duke. So you want to talk about a tough job to slide into. I can't imagine a tougher job in the country other than the next Alabama football coach.
Tough gig, rewarding gig. You brought up some irony, though. I remember, and this is a few years before Coach K got there, the 78 Final Four, which was Arkansas, Sidney Moncrief, Marvin Delph, Ron Brewer, and then Kentucky with their star lineup. Duke was in there with Jim Spanarkel and Gene Banks, Mike Gaminsky. I was just a kid watching this, but I remember that one, and that was Duke had some success, you're right, but nothing like what Coach K did. No question. I have no idea. Brad Stevens, ironically, kicking up to the front office for the Celtics. There was some talk that maybe North Carolina Duke, when they had openings, but target him. Doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Brad Stevens is definitely an interesting option. And Bill, before we move on, I had this text come in here from Brandon in Paris, and he wanted me to tell you that the best Duke basketball game of all time was when they lost to the Razorbacks in 1994 for the national championship. So he wanted to correct yourself there.
I love
from an Arkansas perspective, that's true, but from a national perspective, that is not true.
You see this one?
So we got two different angles.
You see this one from Jason here. He says,
"It's a great one."
He saes, maybe since Coach K is going to retire, this will be his last. Maybe the refs will finally start giving Duke a fair shake."
Exactly.
That's good.
Bill King joining us here on Halftime. Bill, got a couple things I want to touch on you with. And the first one, going to the college football world, Dan Mullen agreeing to a contract extension with the Florida Gators and really jumping up there in salary, being the third highest paid head coach in the SEC. A $1.5 million extension gets him up to $7.6 million through 2026. And, Bill, that brings a lot of stability to this thing, but kind of surprised me with Dan Mullen agreeing to this extension with Florida and Florida giving him an extension.
He stabilized the program. They're solid. Now, the question is, can you get it to where Florida was 95, 96 through that era of Spurrier, or 06 to 09? And the recruiting's got to be better. They get good players. We see it. But the recruiting top to bottom's got to get better. I don't think they're turning the corner there yet. But I think they do appreciate his stability. And that's why he's getting this reward.
And we had another text coming here, switching over to the college baseball ranks. I believe this was, Zach and Paragould. We saw the matchup in the SEC tournament. Obviously, Arkansas winning the SEC tournament. They did it by beating Vanderbilt in one of those games. And we talked a lot about possibly getting this matchup, Patrick Wicklander versus Kumar Rocker. And, Bill, the Razorbacks come away with a victory, but both pitchers, man, looked a little bit shaky. And that was what I don't think a lot of Razorback fans are expecting out of Kumar Rocker. What was your takeaways from Arkansas versus Vanderbilt meeting up for the first time?
The better team won, and since we got past about the quarter mark of the SEC schedule, hitters in this league, and not that they would be scared of anybody, but they're not real worried about Rocker and Leiter right now. Obviously, those are two outstanding pitchers. I'm not trying to suggest otherwise. But other teams, Ole Miss, these teams aren't particularly in all of them, and they're hitting them, and now maybe they pick it up. They're going to have to pick it up a notch. Vanderbilt's not playing good ball right now by their standards, and if they don't pick it up, they're going to be. We were talking earlier, Phil and I. They'll get out of their region, you would think, but after that, all bets are off. And I think Arkansas is clearly the team in Omaha.
It's going to be fun to really see this thing out. And, boys, we just saw this come across on the ESPN app. Just sent me this text message or this notification. Duke officials and Mike Krzyewski are finalizing a search process to name John Shire as the coach in waiting. Because I was fixing to ask, I was going to ask you, Bill, just kind of wrap it up with Duke of who the next coach in waiting is. Is it going to be a Duke guy, or are they going to go with the big name? Maybe try to swindle Eric Musselman or one of these big time coaches. But they're going with apparently John Shire as a coach in waiting.
Wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that just means
that just came across though.
That just means this has probably been been orchestrated for the last few weeks.
Sure,
anyway.
Sure.
Bill, we'll leave it there. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I think we'll be previewing Vanderbilt and ECU next week in a super. That's my guess.
Talk to you then, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.
You got it. That's Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio. And we are also brought to you by the Fence Man. When it comes time for new gates and fence repairs at your home, the Fence Man should be your first call. They not only do all large commercial jobs, small residential repairs as well. Wood privacy fence, vinyl fence, commercial, residential chain link, or custom wrought iron fencing. The Fence Man is the only one to call. Plus, they have 18-month same-as-cash financing, and it's available right now. If it involves fencing, the Fence Man does it. 479-782-3936. That's the Fence Man. He ain't afraid of no work. I love that matchup with Vanderbilt and Presbyterian in the Nashville Regional. It's the Doors and the Hose going up against each other. And Halftime's back with Change My Mind to wrap it up next.